All right, my friends, it is time for us to start reading Leon and the Spitting Image by Alan Kurtzwell. And just a reminder, like every book we read on this channel, I don't own the copyright. We're just reading it together for educational purposes. So we're going to start with Chapter 1, The Envelope. The night before the start of 4th grade, Leon Ziesel was on pins and needles. He lay in bed thinking about just one thing, an envelope. Leon had first discovered the envelope 1 week earlier while poking through his mom's desk. The envelope had attracted his attention for a simple reason. His name was written across the front in thick block letters. For a brief moment, he had thought the envelope might contain a special surprise. Tickets to a Yankees-Red Sox doubleheader would have been sweet, but that dream disappeared as soon as he noticed the school seal and a single word stamped in blood-red ink. Confidential. That warning did the trick. Curious though he was, Leon shoved the unopened envelope back inside the desk. But after a few days, curiosity turned into concern, and concern turned into terror, which was why the night before school started, Leon slipped out of bed and made a beeline back to his mom's desk. Once he was there, he pulled the middle drawer halfway out. That released a catch on the slim side drawer. Don't rush, he told himself. Mom's working late. Leon squinched his eyes shut and clucked his tongue. Only after completing his good luck routine did he remove the envelope, undo its clasp, lift the flap, and inspect the contents. 3 sheets of paper, each with the phrase Home Report centered at the top. His fingers started shaking and his heart started thumping as it dawned on him that he was holding a top-secret history of his life at the classical school. Leon took a deep breath and began to read. Page 1 came from his first-grade teacher, Mrs. Sloat. She wrote, "Given the tragic loss of his father, it is not surprising that Leon is a tad delayed in the domain of manual dexterity." Leon sighed. He didn't like being called delayed, and bringing in his dad, who had died in a freak accident at a fireworks factory when Leon was 4, felt like a cheap shot. He went back to Mrs. Sloat's assessment. Leon's frustration most regularly expresses itself during craft time. He completed his macaroni necklace only with a great deal of assistance. And although a macaroni necklace might not seem important, it is. For here at the classical school, our motto has always been, nimble fingers make for nimble minds. Geez, how many times did he hear that stupid saying? Leon recalled only one thing about Mrs. Sloat, and the memory wasn't pleasant. He remembered her badgering him to stick his hands in Play-Doh and to feel the squishiness. Leon hadn't liked squishiness back in 1st grade, and he didn't like squishiness now. He turned to page 2. It came from his 2nd grade teacher, Miss Toothaker. Her report was just as grim. Miss Toothaker wrote, "Leon continues to be hampered by a troubling lack of fine motor skills." That was another dumb thing he had heard 1,000 times. Leon knew only too well that lack of fine motor skills had nothing to do with fancy cars. Teachers used the expression to avoid calling him a klutz. The comment hurt. Suppose he was hampered. Wasn't that Miss Toothaker's fault? She was the one cramming him into a bogus confidential report. Didn't that make her the hamperer? Leon wiped his nose on the sleeve of his pajamas and braced himself for the 3rd grade report. It was now Mr. Juict's turn to get his licks in. Mr. Juice wrote, "Leon's handwriting is significantly below grade level, and he is challenged by even the most basic manual tasks, such as tying his laces. At this juncture, I would seriously encourage corrective measures. One suggestion, flute lessons might improve his finger movement." Leon had always wondered why his mother forced him to take music classes with Miss Brunellschi. Now he knew. The home reports felt like strikes 1, 2, and 3, and that made it all the more odd that the only nice words in the whole secret history came from Skip Kasparidis, the former minor league pitcher who taught PE. Coach Kasparidis wrote, "Leon is a real treat and a very special kid. His coordination needs work, but there's no question he's a champ. And if he ever learns to master his passion, I'll tell you this, Leon Ziesel is the kind of kid who could make magic." Chapter 2, Trimore Towers. A dog barked from somewhere upstairs. Leon glanced out the window. The lights on the convention center sign snapped off. It was late. He tucked the 3 sheets of paper back into the envelope and tucked himself back into bed. Some home report, he thought as he built a tent with his blankets. I could have done a better job myself. That was certainly true. And what's more, if Leon had written his own home report, he would have stuck to the assignment. There would have been no mention of macaroni necklaces, that's for sure. He would have focused his home report on his home, Trimore Towers, a wedding cake-shaped 6-tiered hotel his mother's called the finest 1-star lodgings in the city. For a long time, Leon had assumed that the single gold star on the plaque near the key rack meant his hotel was tops. After all, he received a single gold star from Miss Brunellschi only when he managed to make his flute do exactly what it was supposed to, and that didn't happen too often. Then his mom sat him down, set him straight about the whole star system. Adults like getting lots of stars, sweetie, she said. They're greedy that way. Leon didn't care what grown-ups thought. He loved his hotel just as it was. Actually, the lack of stars was a good thing, Leon decided, because the Trimore wasn't snazzy. It attracted guests that snootier hotels turned away. Elegant 5-star establishments would never give a room to a seal act or a snake handler. The Trimore did. In fact, it was the only hotel in the city that had an all pets welcome sign posted above the reception desk. On some days, the Trimore lobby resembled a petting zoo. That didn't make Maria, Leon's favorite housekeeper, terribly happy, but over time she had learned to take precautions. Along with her normal cleaning supplies, Maria relied on a highly effective product called Poop Be Gone. Also, she kept the reception desk stocked with diapers in all different sizes. You never knew when a chimp or a llama might check in wearing a soiled nappy. Or worse, no nappy at all. Obviously, animals weren't the only guests staying at the Trimore. The hotel also booked humans, most of whom attended meetings at the convention center across the street. Leon liked that too. The convention center attracted all kinds of intriguing people. Detectives, stuntmen, contortionists, potato chip tasters, and the best part was, they often left behind stuff that couldn't fit into their suitcases. That's where Maria came in. If she found an interesting freebie while cleaning a room, she'd save it for Leon. She'd presented him with blinking refrigerator magnets, pen lights, a juggling pin, and a policeman's badge. Once, Maria gave him a bag of potato chips the size of a pillowcase. There were other matters Leon would have mentioned in his home report. For instance, how many places actually pay you to live there? And it wasn't just his mom, the Trimore night manager, who got that deal. Leon was on the payroll too. Every week, the hotel bookkeeper would make out a check to Mr. L. Ziesel for a sum of $3. It was Leon's job to maintain the lobby signboard. That meant fetching the daily VIP yes list from his mom, along with an old wooden letterbox that had a sturdy brass latch shaped like a question mark. The box was divided into 64 compartments, ideal for separating the 26 letters of the alphabet, upper and lowercase, plus all the numbers from 0 through 9. Actually, that only adds up to 62, but the weird thingamabobs, the ampersands, the dollar signs, the pound signs, and the very useful exclamation points filled the 2 spare cubbies. Leon would use the letters, numbers, and thingamabobs to reproduce the VIP list on the signboard covered in black felt. Leon's penmanship might have been significantly below grade level, but his signboard usually deserved an A+. The day before the start of 4th grade, Leon had positioned the white plastic letters to read, "Welcome West Coast Mine Company. Howdy, Colorado cowpunchers." Leon loved the exclamation marks. He felt that they turned the VIPs into VVIPs. Another benefit of exclamation marks was that they drew attention away from the major signboard problem, the missing W's. So this is what the sign looks like. So he had to put together 2 V's to make a W. No one at the hotel knew how it had happened, but all the W's, both upper and lowercase, had disappeared. This forced Leon to substitute side-by-side V's. He experimented for a while with upside-down M's, but they kept falling off the felt. After diligently straightening the letters and punctuation marks, Leon would latch the wooden box and inspect the work that earned him his weekly paycheck. Still, not everything about life at the Trimore was great. Actually, there were some things that were downright lousy. The Ice Queen, for instance. The Ice Queen was an ancient ice maker that occupied an alcove on the far side of his bedroom wall. The noise it made drove Leon bonkers. Leon hated the Ice Queen. Just thinking about her turned his blood to, well, ice. She reminded him of the fairy tale witch of the same name. In the storybooks, the Ice Queen cast an evil spell that forced the entire village to sleep for 100 years. But his Ice Queen, the one rattling in the hotel hallway, did the exact opposite. She prevented sleep. Her spell was always the same. It began with 3 harsh clicks, followed by a long, obnoxious buzz. Then she would tease her victims by falling silent. The silence could last 1 minute, it could last 10. Yet the Ice Queen always revived her hex, creating a bed-rattling hullabaloo as she spat ice cubes into a large metal bucket. Click, 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 buzz. The sound from the far side of the bedroom wall forced Leon deeper under his blanket. Grind, groan, rumble, crash. Leon reemerged from his dark, hot bunker and looked around the room. The ice maker's thunderous finale had been so intense, it had knocked loose some of the pushpin flags stuck into the map of the world above his bed. Leon squinched his eyes and clucked his tongue, hoping a counter-hex would silence the Ice Queen. No such luck. Within seconds, she started up once more. Click, 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 buzz. Leon couldn't stand it. Still in pajamas, he fled the hotel apartment and rode the elevator down to the lobby. He marched over to the reception desk. "Mom!" Mom, he moaned. She's doing it again. I'm sorry, sweetie, his mother said, knowing instantly who she was. I did make some calls, but that machine is so darn old I can't find anyone to quiet her down. Leon ducked under the counter and planted himself near the key rack. She won't shut up, he complained. His mom nodded sympathetically. It's the mimes, Leon. They've been whooping it up ever since they arrived. Maria just told me they've wiped out 4 mini bars and the candy dispenser. Funny, I'd have expected the cow punchers to be the rowdy ones, but they've turned out to be as quiet as church mice. Mom, can I? Leon hesitated. Emma Ziesel looked at her son's pale, anxious face. The dark circles under his eyes worried her. Tell you what, she said. Go fetch me a sandwich and I'll fix up a bug for you down here. How does that sound? It's a deal, said Leon. He was already starting to feel better. You want the usual, Mom? I do, said Emma Ziesel, before she had to turn away and help a cowpuncher change rooms because of a backed-up toilet. The Trimore's coffee shop, like the hotel that housed it, was a small operation. 4 booths, 6 stools of counter service, and 1 very plump woman who kept the whole place going. Hey there, Frau Haffenreffer, said Leon to the woman in question. Still up? Said Frau Haffenreffer, with a look of concern. She knew he was starting school the next day. Can't sleep, and Mom needs a sandwich. The usual? Yep. Ordering, Frau Haffenreffer said to herself. 1 tongue on rye, extra hots, extra mustard. She then walked over to the sandwich station. While she prepared the food, Leon kept himself busy by inspecting the pastry in the glass case near the cash register. There was a lot to inspect. Frau Haffenreffer took baking very seriously, and even with fingers as fat as Twinkies, she had absolutely no trouble whipping up elegant pastries, cookies, and cakes. So, Leon, she said, returning with the tongue sandwich neatly wrapped in wax paper, how should we top this off? I'll have a sugar-dusted chocolate chip cookie, and Mom will take one of those messy custardy things. Leon pointed to a pastry in the case. And a Napoleon for your mother, Frau Haffenreffer confirmed. Leon watched as she arranged the sandwich, cookie, and Napoleon inside a cardboard box. After determining that everything was neat and tidy, she closed the lid and yanked some red string from a spool chained above the counter. With a series of lightning-fast motions worthy of a ninja warrior, Frau Haffenreffer tied up the box. She completed her attack with a single, effortless slice that severed the string from the spool. For the longest time, Leon had wondered how she could make that final cut look so easy. Eventually, he figured out the trick. Frau Haffenreffer wore a special ring fitted with a tiny hooked blade that looked like the horn on a horned beetle. Leon took the food to the back office behind the reception desk. What do you think, sweetie? Said his mom, taking a bite of her sandwich. Is the tongue tasting me while I'm tasting the tongue? Leon squelched a smile. Though he'd never admit it, he liked when his mom said goofy things. She pointed to a pair of battered leather armchairs she had pushed together to form a makeshift bed. As soon as you've finished your cookie, I want you to get some sleep. You have a big day tomorrow. Got it? Got it, said Leon. He curled up under a hotel blanket. It was scratchier than the one upstairs, but he didn't care. He was happy to be far away from the Ice Queen and the confidential home reports, and happier still to be close to his mom. Leon woke feeling exhausted, and because of the home reports, sad. He looked for his mom, only to discover that a hotel crisis involving a drunken mime had called her away from reception. After getting dressed, in the school clothes thoughtfully laid out on top of a nearby file cabinet, Leon made his way into the lobby, where the signboard caught his eye. Hotel guests were forever rearranging the plastic letters, sending private messages to one another, spelling out nasty words. And sure enough, the sign no longer welcomed mimes and cowpunchers. It now said, "Best wishes to the Trimore's newest 4th grader." The announcements made Leon stop in his track. It didn't matter that his mom had used only capital letters and that she had messed up the spacing, and it didn't matter that she'd been chintzy with the exclamation marks. For just a moment, while he stared at the sign, Leon Ziesel felt a little better, ready to face 4th grade. That's where we're going to leave it for today. So tomorrow, we will find out what happens on Leon's first day of 4th grade. See you guys then.